Well, there you have it. Chelsea beaten for only the second time this season, Janusz Michallik. Let's talk about this game. First of all, Arthur Masuaku, the absolute toast of the town in East London today after that game. But that goal, a bit of a freak goal, really, wasn't it?
He better be claiming that, right? He's going to be claiming it for sure. I still think it's a cross. He was looking for Souček on the far post, I think, but it doesn't matter. Even if he claims it, I would have, right? I mean, I'm like him. I never scored any goals for the most part. So why not take that? But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a massive, massive win, massive derby, of course. And Chelsea have been perfect in derbies, right? They were the kings of the town for sure. And West Ham, on the other hand, Kay, obviously coming into it, with 3 games without a win. So, just that stadium was just bouncing, wasn't it?
You say Chelsea obviously perfect in these games, not so perfect on the day today against West Ham. I want to talk about that penalty that they conceded that seemed to come from absolutely nothing. Who's at fault there, Mendy or Jorginho?
Well, both to some degree, but I will tell you to a degree. I mean, we tend to talk about goalkeepers differently now because Edouard Mendy, one of the best with his feet, and of course he had the time to maybe get rid of it. But I think he was surprised because a player like Jorginho, here's a player that we just a couple of days ago were talking about, a Ballon d'Or, right, in the vicinity of that with Leo Messi and Robert Lewandowski. I mean, that's just a poor pass. I mean, he needed to send roses with that. I mean, Jared Bowen was there already. I mean, when he was passing, it wasn't just a great anticipation where he comes out of nowhere. He was already close to that. So it really, really was a very poor decision from Jorginho. And I don't care how good your goalkeeper is with feet. You just don't make that pass if you can help it. And Jorginho should have known better.
What else do you think went wrong for Chelsea today?
Well, I think we've had an indication of that a little bit in the midweek against Watford, right? Maybe there was lack of energy there. I don't think that was the case today, but quite simply, Chelsea at their best are always in control of the match, and they weren't. I mean, at times, of course, early in the first half, I thought they did a pretty good job and were controlling the game, but they didn't press. I mean, their pressing was, I would say, non-existent, or at least didn't cause West Ham any problems. They didn't stretch West Ham because there were numbers inside. Let's not forget, West Ham play with 3 center backs, or very often with 5 in the back, and the wing backs didn't cause any problems. Reece James has been wonderful as of late, but really didn't get behind that back 5, which we often have to do. And Marcos Alonso very, very quiet as well on the other side. So when you look at that and you look at that congestion in the center of the pitch, I looked at the stats, and it seemed that Loftus-Cheek, who I thought did okay, and Jorginho had the better stats than Declan Rice and Souček. But I thought the West Ham central midfielders were better in transition. That was the problem for Chelsea in particular, that they were very, very poor in defensive transition.
Now, obviously, I'm going to get to the winners, West Ham, and we will talk a little bit more about them. But given the fact that Chelsea, the leaders coming into this one, there's obviously a lot that we need to break down with them. Some of the positives, Mason Mount directly involved in more goals in all competitions under Thomas Tuchel, showing his importance again on the day for Chelsea, even though it didn't come to a win for them.
Yeah, look, I mean, there are small margins as we know it, and Chelsea blinked today, given that Liverpool and Manchester City are playing later today, but games like these will happen for Chelsea. I mean, look, before today, Chelsea never gave up 2 goals in any competition this season, right? So not just 2, but 3 today. Part of the problem sometimes may be rotation. I mean, nobody's changed the team more than Thomas Tuchel. Right, I think 54 times. You have to go back all the way to Sir Alex Ferguson in 2001 and 2002, and obviously he was ahead of his time in terms of changing teams. And part of that is motivation. Part of that is to keep everybody on their toes. And and sometimes, maybe just maybe, it has become a problem because you looked at the bench today, right? A lot of key players who've been playing well were maybe safe for midweek and for Champions League. I'm not sure.
Yeah, 4 changes, as you mentioned, and going right back to Manchester United in the early 2000s under Sir Alex Ferguson. Tinker Tuchel. Do you think that is a problem sometimes then, even if there is a system that you have?
I don't want to force this opinion if it's a problem. I think stability is important, but as we've seen it in the last few years, it's a must for these big teams with big squads where you have to do it. And look, I mean, up until this game, I think they were nearly perfect, really, right? Just one loss. So I think we have to give credit to West Ham in this one, that they played Chelsea evenly, and even though the lineup looked defensive. They had a lot of say in that.
I think as well, with West Ham, we saw the importance of Michail Antonio, especially on that equalising goal, with the attention that he draws to free up the other players, right, Janusz?
Yeah, yes, I mean, a lot of heroes in that one. I mean, they've had their injuries as well today, right? I mean, even ahead of the game, Ogbonna, an important part of the team, was out. I'm searching who got injured. Kurt Zuma, of course, came off, and I mean, they had decisions to make. As deep as Chelsea are, and we saw the substitutions they were able to make. Well, certainly West Ham didn't have the opportunity to do that. Not at least not with the quality to replace that. So look, in games like these, we tend to look at the favorites and ask what's wrong with Chelsea. I don't think there's anything wrong with Chelsea. They've lost a game, a highly charged London derby in this wonderful stadium with these wonderful fans who really don't like each other much, right? So we tend to focus on that rather than on the team that won it. And although there were mistakes made, I think West Ham, deserve that. I really do.
Yeah, and obviously West Ham have been getting plenty of respect this season, and deservedly so. This will only add to that. But in terms of the title race, just a blip for Chelsea, or will they need to beware given the games around them today? You've got Watford taking on Man City. You've got Wolves up against Liverpool. Obviously, it's very important between these top three that they get every good result they can.
Yes, there are small margins, right? Because if you look at Chelsea and you compare them to Manchester City and Liverpool, Chelsea aren't as mesmerizing as Manchester City, and certainly not as Liverpool. Those two teams in a different way, but they're steady eddies, right? I mean, they're good in all formations. They're well organized. They're very disciplined. And today, if you look at that, to concede 3 goals for them, it's like conceding 6 for other teams. I mean, it really is, because that's something that Thomas Tuchel really holds the team up to a certain standard, and there's a certain level that a team like Chelsea shouldn't go below. So even though there were gifts, I mean, there was West Ham had a lot of other chances to score as well. So yes, small margins. They blinked. They probably won't be at the top of the table when it's all said and done, but it's a long season, and they will learn from that, because I don't think Thomas Tuchel is going to let them forget that. He was already unhappy midweek. Imagine him after this game.
Yeah, absolutely. But for us, it adds a little bit more spice to that Premier League title race.
Sure
And big
does.
Congrats to West Ham on what was a great result for them.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.